Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us a little earlier than normal today. I want to make sure that the pool has plenty of time to set up for this afternoon's major event. I'm excited to announce that next Monday, on April 24th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, the President will speak via video conference with the commander of the International Space Station, Peggy Whitson, and her fellow astronaut, Jack Fisher. In 2008, Dr. Whitson became the first woman to command the International Space Station, and on Monday, she will break the record for the most time spent in space of any American astronaut. The President, joined by his daughter Ivanka and NASA astronaut Kate Rubin, will congratulate Dr. Whitson on this incredible accomplishment and discuss the importance of encouraging women to pursue careers in STEM fields: science, technology, engineering, and math. As you're all aware, in addition to signing the NASA Transition Authorization Act, the President also recently signed the Inspire Women Act, which ensures that NASA continues recruiting women for important STEM-related jobs in aerospace, an effort that's particularly important to this President. We're working closely with NASA and the Department of Education to make this conversation available to classrooms throughout the country. The Department of Education will also be providing tools for teachers to build lessons around this conversation between the President and these two outstanding Americans who are orbiting 220 miles above their heads. The call will air live on NASA TV and stream on NASA's website and Facebook page. And while we're on the topic of upcoming events, I'd like to note that the President will welcome Palestinian President Abbas for a visit to Washington on May 3rd. They will use the visit to reaffirm the commitment of both the United States and Palestinian leadership to pursuing and ultimately concluding a conflict-ending settlement between the Palestinians and Israel. We'll have further guidance on that visit as we get closer to the date. In terms of additional announcements, the President will be giving the commencement address at the Coast Guard Academy in New London, Connecticut on May 17th. And as we grow closer to that date, we will continue to provide updates. Moving along to current events, this morning the President signed an important piece of legislation for our nation's veterans. The Veterans Choice Program Extension and Improvement Act eliminates the original sunset date on the Veterans Choice Program, which gives veterans who are unable to schedule an appointment at a VA facility in a timely or convenient manner the ability to receive care from an eligible non-VA healthcare provider. Using funds that have already been appropriated for this program, this gives our nation's heroes the peace of mind they deserve while this administration works with Congress to enact comprehensive reform and modernization at the VA. The Vice President is continuing on his international tour today. On Tuesday, he spoke to 2,500 servicemen and women on the deck of the USS Ronald Reagan in Japan, thanking them for their service and discussing the President's plan to rebuild our military. He then met with and delivered remarks to Japanese business leaders and stopped by a youth baseball clinic before leaving Japan. He is scheduled to land in Jakarta, Indonesia right about now. We'll have further updates on his travels the rest of the week. This week is also National Park Week, and Secretary of the Interior Ryan Zinke is currently in California meeting with rangers at 5 national parks. On Monday and Tuesday, he was at Channel Islands National Park, where he led a class of junior park rangers, and today he'll visit Golden Gate National Recreation Area. Since being sworn in on March 1st, Secretary Zinke has met with rangers at 9 national parks. He'll make that 10 when he visits Shenandoah National Park outside Charlottesville, Virginia next week. Every American has had the opportunity to participate in the celebration of our nation's parks. They're free of charge this Saturday and Sunday. Anyone who's interested in finding a local park or information can go to nps.gov. And finally, I know just moments ago the President announced that he will be holding a press conference next Thursday to discuss the progress that's being made on behalf of our nation's veterans. We'll have further updates on the guidance for next week. With that, we'd like to take a few of your questions. John.
A couple of unrelated topics. First of all, Georgia 6th Congressional District. The fact that John Ossoff pulled in 5 or 6 points more than most Republicans thought that he would have. And Lindsey Graham saying this is a wake-up call to the Republican Party that there's a lot of moderates beginning to emerge in the South to a greater degree that the Republican Party needs to pay attention to. I don't imagine that the outcome of the runoff is in that much question, but does Senator Graham have something there that the Republican Party needs to pay attention to changing demographics, particularly in the South?
Well, I think you know that based on my former position, we talked about changing demographics throughout the country and made significant headway in doing that. And I think in large part that's why we won. I mean, we had been talking about how the Republican Party had won at so many different levels of our country, but the presidency had eluded us. This president went and got 306 electoral votes, won 30 of 50 states, over 2,600 counties. I think we did pretty well in November, and we've continued to pick up seats around the country at different levels, so I feel very confident about the state of the party.
The fact that Ossoff came so close to 50%.
Yeah, I would, well, I would just, looking at the facts, there was one candidate on the Democratic side. They spent over $8 million on one that they backed. I mean, and I think when you look at the total Republican vote, it was over that. This is a district that was very close on the presidential level last cycle, and the Democrats went all in on this. They were clear going into this election. They said that their goal was to get over 50%. They came up short. I mean, so at the end, if you look at what his percentage of what it was presidentially, it pretty much tracks. I think this was a big loss for them. The bottom line is they went all in on it. They said that their goal was to get over 50%. They came up short.
Unrelated issue. Tillerson's letter to Paul Ryan on the JCPOA in Iran. Is the United States basically saying there's no evidence that Iran is cheating on the JCPOA?
No, I think what the letter says is that the president is directing an interagency review of the deal to review that, and we have 90 days before the next one comes up. We'll have more, but right now we're undergoing a 90-day review, and I think the statement that the Secretary of State made to Congress very clearly stated that that the president is directing the National Security Council to lead an interagency review of the plan and evaluate whether suspension sanctions related to Iran pursuant to the JCPOA are in the vital interests of the our national security. The letter clearly lays out what the president's going to do to make sure